Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the ESS Endurance, watching the battle unfold through the ship's quantum imaging array. The alien vessel, sleek, crystalline, and clearly outmatched, weaved through debris as it fled from three predatory ships that sparkled with plasma fire. Her crew waited in silence, sensors drinking in data about weapons, shields, and tactics that humanity had never seen before. Their distress beacon is using standard radio waves, Lieutenant Park reported from his communication station. Pretty primitive by the looks of their pursuers' tech. Primitive is relative, Chen replied, remembering Earth's own history. What's their message? Simple mathematical sequences, Captain. Universal language. They're begging for help. The pursuing vessels fired another salvo, their energy weapons carving glowing trails through space. The crystalline ship shields flickered weakly, failing sector by sector. Analysis, Chen asked her tactical officer. Commander Rivera's fingers danced across his holographic interface. The attackers are using some kind of modulated plasma weapons, highly advanced, but their targeting algorithms are predictable. They're relying entirely on their technological edge. And our chances if we intervene. They haven't even detected us yet, Captain. Our quantum stealth is holding. Rivera smiled grimly. Their shields are tuned for energy weapons. They've got nothing prepared for kinetic strikes or our gravity lances. Chen nodded slowly. First contact scenarios had been drilled into every Earth ship, Captain, since humanity reached the stars. The protocols were clear: observe, analyze, avoid conflict. But watching an advanced civilization hunt down a weaker species struck too close to home. Earth had been the underdog too many times to ignore this. All hands, battle stations, Chen ordered. But let's be smart about this. I want precision strikes only. Show them what humanity can do. The Endurance's systems hummed to life, weapon ports sliding open silently in the vacuum of space. The ship's artificial intelligence began calculating firing solutions, factoring in debris fields and the complex dance of the four alien vessels. Ma'am, Park interrupted. The crystalline ship. They're broadcasting something new. It's a data packet. Technical specifications of their pursuer ships. They're trying to help us fight. Smart, Chen said. They know they need allies. Rivera, incorporate that data into our targeting solutions. Let's give them a reason to be glad they found us. The Endurance moved like a predator, its stealth systems still masking its approach. The alien aggressors remained focused on their prey, unaware that they were now being hunted themselves. Target their propulsion systems first, Chen ordered. Then weapons. I want them disabled, not destroyed. If we're stepping onto the galactic stage, let's make a statement about humanity's capabilities and our restraint. Solutions plotted. Rivera confirmed. Gravity lances charged. Kinetic drivers spun up. We can take all three with synchronized strikes. Chen took a deep breath. This moment would change everything. Humanity's first direct intervention in an alien conflict. The history books would either praise their courage or condemn their recklessness. Fire. The Endurance's gravity lances fired first invisible beams that twisted space itself around the pursuing ships. Their shields, designed to deflect energy and matter, did nothing against weapons that manipulated gravity itself. As the ship struggled against the gravitational distortions, precisely targeted tungsten rods accelerated to relativistic speeds pierced their engine sections. The effect was devastating in its precision. Within seconds, all three aggressor ships were drifting, their primary systems offline. No explosions, no debris fields, just the surgical application of what many advanced civilizations would consider primitive physics. Broadcasting on all frequencies, Chen announced. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth ship Endurance. Your vessels have been disabled for participating in the unprovoked attack of another spacefaring species. We will provide emergency life support if needed, but you will power down all remaining weapons immediately. The bridge crew watched as the crystalline ship turned toward them, its hull gleaming with reflected starlight. The pursuing ships, their once mighty weapons silent, floated helplessly in space. "They're responding," Park reported, surprise evident in his voice. "All three aggressor ships are powering down. The crystalline vessel is. They're requesting permission to dock, Captain. Their language is becoming more complex. I think they're learning our communication patterns in real time." Chen smiled. "Grant them permission, and send word to Earth Command. Tell them humanity just made first contact." She paused, looking at the disabled ships, "and tell them we've already made both friends and enemies. But we've shown the galaxy that technological superiority isn't just about who has the most advanced energy weapons." As the crystalline ship approached their docking bay, Chen reflected on the moment's significance. Humanity had just proved that being considered primitive by advanced civilizations didn't mean being powerless. Sometimes, the oldest principles of physics, applied with precision and innovation, could overcome any technological gap. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's strength lay not in the sophistication of their weapons, but in their willingness to use simple principles in extraordinary ways, and more importantly, in their determination to protect those who needed help, regardless of the technological divide. First contact had come with a price, the loss of humanity's anonymity in the galaxy. But it had also come with a promise that Earth would not stand idle while the strong preyed upon the weak. The real question now was how the galaxy would respond to a species that had just proved primitive, didn't mean what they thought it meant. The diplomatic chamber aboard the ESS Endurance hadn't been designed for alien visitors, but it served its purpose. Captain Chen sat across from crystalline Elder Vix, whose translucent form caught the room's light in mesmerizing patterns. Behind them, the disabled aggressor ships floated in space, their Drachnid crews now under guard. "Your intervention was unexpected," Vix communicated through the ship's eye translator. "Our research suggested Earth was centuries away from achieving spaceflight. We've learned to be discreet," Chen replied, watching as holographic data scrolled between them. "Your pursuers weren't the first advanced civilization we've encountered, just the first we chose to engage directly." The Elder's crystalline structure flickered with what the AI translated as surprise. "You've been watching us. For how long?" "Long enough to know that the Drachnid Empire has been systematically hunting down what they consider lesser species." Chen projected a star map showing dozens of conflict zones. "We've documented their attacks on 17 developing civilizations in the past Earth decade alone." Vix's form dimmed. The Drachnids believe technological evolution should follow a specific path. Energy weapons, quantum computing, psychic enhancement. Species that develop along different lines are seen as threats to galactic stability. Commander Rivera entered the chamber carrying new tactical readings. "Captain, we've completed our analysis of the Drachnid ships. Their technology is impressive, but their tactical doctrine is completely inflexible. They don't even have basic kinetic shields because they consider projectile weapons obsolete. A common assumption among the elder races," Vix noted. "They believe any civilized species would naturally abandon physical weapons for energy-based ones." The elder's tone carried what might have been amusement. "Your gravity lances proved that assumption rather spectacularly wrong." Chen smiled. Humanity learned early that relying on a single technological path was dangerous. When we detected our first alien signals, we realized we weren't anywhere near their level of energy weapon development. So we looked for alternatives. She activated a tactical display, showing the Endurance's weapon systems. Gravity manipulation, mass drivers, quantum entangled torpedoes. We took basic physics and pushed it to extremes. While the Drachnids were perfecting their plasma cannons, we were learning to bend space itself. "And hiding your development," Vix observed. "The Drachnid sensors showed no signs of your ship until you attacked." "How?" Rivera answered. "Quantum stealth. Instead of trying to deflect scanner beams, we shift slightly out of phase with normal spacetime. Simple principle, complex execution. Like most of our technology." The ship's AI interrupted with a priority alert. Long-range sensors had detected multiple Drachnid warships entering the system. Chen studied the tactical display with calm interest. They're responding faster than expected, she noted. Elder Vix, I assume these are their elite forces. Yes. The Drachnid Horizon Guard. Their most advanced ships. Vix's crystalline form pulsed with concern. Their weapons can shatter planets. You should retreat while you can. Chen shared a look with Rivera. Show them, she ordered. The tactical officer activated a new set of holographic displays. Throughout the system, quantum signatures flickered into existence. Dozens of them, then hundreds. We didn't come alone, Chen explained. The Endurance is just one of many Earth ships that have been patrolling the galaxy's edge. We've been studying, learning, and preparing for the day we'd need to reveal ourselves. Vic stared at the sensor readings in disbelief. These ships, they're all using different technologies, different approaches to the same problems. Humanity's greatest strength, Rivera said, is our diversity of thought. Some of our ships use gravity weapons, others manipulate quantum fields. Some rely on swarms of micro-missiles guided by artificial intelligence. Each captain, each crew, finds their own way to solve problems. The Drachnid warships were decelerating, their sensors undoubtedly detecting the human fleet's presence. Chen watched their formation with professional interest. Still using standard approach vectors, she noted. Still assuming their technology makes them superior. Rivera, signal the fleet. Let's show them how humanity fights when we're not trying to be gentle. The tactical display came alive with movement. Human ships appeared from seemingly impossible angles, their quantum stealth systems creating gaps in reality itself. Some vessels accelerated to relativistic speeds, their mass drivers preparing to unleash physics-defying strikes. Others hung back, their gravity lances ready to twist space into pretzels around the Drachnid ships. Your people fight like no species I've ever seen, Vix observed. Each ship is a unique threat, unpredictable and innovative. That's because we never forgot our roots, Chen replied. Every human civilization, every culture, contributed to our understanding of warfare. We combined ancient strategic principles with space-age technology. The art of war meets quantum mechanics. The Drachnid fleet had stopped advancing, their sensors undoubtedly overwhelmed by the variety of threats facing them. Their traditional formation, optimized for energy weapon combat, suddenly looked fragile against an enemy that refused to fight by their rules. They're broadcasting, Rivera reported, demanding our surrender and the return of their disabled ships, claiming we're violating galactic law by using unauthorized weapon technologies. Chen's smile was cold. Inform them that Earth is introducing new articles to galactic law. The first one states that no species has the right to dictate another's path of development. She looked at Vix. Would your people be interested in helping us enforce that? The elder's crystalline form brightened. You would ally with a primitive species like us. Elder Vix, Chen replied. I think it's time the galaxy learned that primitive is just another word for innovative. Shall we teach that lesson together? The Drachnid fleet would soon learn what humanity had known for millennia. True power doesn't come from following a predetermined path of advancement. It comes from the freedom to explore all paths, to combine old wisdom with new ideas, and to never ever underestimate a species just because they think differently. The Strategic Command Center aboard Earth's orbital station Archimedes hummed with activity. Captain Chen, now promoted to admiral, stood before representatives of 12 species the Drachnid Empire had dismissed as primitive. Holograms showed tactical data from 100 systems, each marking another victory against Drachnid forces. The Empire's expansion has been halted in 3 sectors, reported Cax, a being of living metal whose people had mastered mechanical evolution instead of biological enhancement. Their predictable tactics make them vulnerable to our combined strategies. Elder Vix's crystalline form pulsed in agreement. Their reliance on energy weapons proves increasingly futile. They cannot adapt to threats they refuse to understand. Admiral Chen studied the battle data with satisfaction. In the months since humanity's emergence, the galaxy had changed dramatically. Species that had hidden their development from the drachnids were revealing themselves, each bringing unique technological approaches to the alliance. The drachnids still control the major trade routes, noted Ambassador Wren of the Swarm Collective, their insectoid form shifting colors as they spoke. Our individual efforts to challenge them failed because they could concentrate their forces. But together we create problems they can't solve, Chen finished, because they can't predict what they refuse to study. The holographic display shifted to show the latest intelligence. The Drachnid Empire was facing something unprecedented in their history, warfare that didn't follow their rules. Human gravity weapons worked alongside crystalline phase shifters. Swarm collective bioships coordinated with mechanical kingdom drone swarms. Each species brought tactics the drachnids had dismissed as primitive or impossible. Their society is fracturing, reported Commander Rivera, now Chen's chief of intelligence. Some drachnid worlds are questioning their superiority doctrine. They've never faced defeat like this, because they never imagined we could work together, said Nexus, a quantum AI representing the Silicon consciousness, a machine civilization that had evolved from simple computer networks. Their paradigm of technological evolution assumes competition, not cooperation. Chen activated a new tactical display showing their next target, the Drachnid homeworld's defense grid, which makes their greatest strength their critical weakness. They believe advancement only happens in one direction, so they've optimized their entire civilization around that belief. The assembled representatives studied the defense system. Layers of energy shields, plasma cannons, and psychic barriers protected the Drachnid throne world. To their eyes, it was impregnable, but only against the threats they recognized. Our scouts report they've begun modifying some shields against kinetic weapons, Rivera noted. But they're just copying our existing technology, not understanding the principles behind it. Of course they are. Cax's metallic form resonated with what might have been laughter. They see technology as a ladder to climb, not a tree to explore. They copy without comprehending. Chen zoomed in on key defensive positions, which is why our next strike will demonstrate the true power of our alliance. Each of us developed along paths the drachnids thought impossible. Now we'll show them why that makes us stronger. The plan took shape as each species contributed their unique perspective. The Swarm Collective's bioships would use organic cloaking to slip past outer defenses. Silicon consciousness AIs would hack and redirect defensive grids. Mechanical kingdom units would transform into forms the drachnids couldn't recognize. Human gravity weapons would create corridors through their supposedly impenetrable shields. They call this primitive. Elder Vix observe, their crystalline form refracting light in complex patterns, using natural principles in ways they never imagined, finding strength in adaptation rather than rigid advancement. That's why humanity reached out to species like yours, Chen explained. We recognized kindred spirits, civilizations that found their own paths to the stars. The drachnids dismissed us all because they couldn't imagine technology advancing along multiple paths simultaneously. Ambassador Wren's color patterns shifted thoughtfully. They believed their way was the only way forward, that any other approach was a dead end. A self-fulfilling prophecy, Nexus added. They attacked developing civilizations to prevent them from proving that belief wrong. Chen looked around at the assembled representatives, beams of crystal, metal, organic compounds, and energy. Each had faced drachnid aggression. Each had survived by innovating along paths the Empire couldn't understand. Now they were united, turning their diversity into an unstoppable force. The drachnids believe they're superior because they climbed higher on their chosen path than anyone else, she said. But they never understood that there are countless paths to the stars. By forcing us to hide, to adapt, to think differently, they created their own worst nightmare. An alliance of species who mastered the principles they ignored. The tactical display updated with final attack coordinates. Throughout the galaxy, ships of every description moved into position. The greatest fleet ever assembled, not because it was the most technologically advanced by drachnid standards, but because it was the most diverse. Send the word to all forces, Chen ordered. The age of single-path advancement is over. The galaxy is about to learn why diversity of thought is the greatest technology of all. As the command center erupted into activity, Chen shared a knowing look with Elder Vix. Their peoples, so different in form and origin, had found common ground in their refusal to be limited by others' expectations. Now they would lead an alliance of the overlooked, the dismissed, the supposedly primitive, in teaching the galaxy that true advancement comes not from following a predetermined path, but from having the courage to forge new ones. Aboard the ESS Endurance, Admiral Chen watched as reality itself seemed to bend around their combined fleet. Crystalline ships phased between dimensions while swarm vessels shifted their biological structures to become nearly invisible. Human vessels rode the edges of gravitational waves they themselves created, while silicon consciousness ships existed simultaneously in real and virtual space. The Drachnid defense grid hasn't detected us, Rivera reported from his tactical station. Their sensors are still searching for traditional warp signatures and energy emissions. Hard to find what you refuse to believe exists, Chen replied. She studied the tactical display where hundreds of ships representing a dozen primitive species approached the Drachnid throne world through paths the Empire's scientists had declared impossible. The planet ahead bristled with defenses, energy fields powerful enough to vaporize moons, plasma weapons that could punch holes through space itself, psychic barriers maintained by thousands of Drachnid mentalists. All of it designed to stop enemies fighting the way the Drachnids fought. Signal from the Mechanical Kingdom forces, Rivera announced. Their metamorphic units are in position. Chen nodded. Begin Phase 1. Let's show them why adaptation beats optimization. Throughout the system, pieces of what the Drachnids had dismissed as space debris suddenly changed form. The Mechanical Kingdom's units, disguised as asteroids and wreckage, transformed into complex weapon platforms. Before the Drachnid sensors could adjust, they began transmitting frequencies that interfered with the psychic barriers. Phase 1 successful, reported Cax through the quantum comm. Their mentalists are experiencing what they would call impossible feedback. Their precious psychic network is compromised. Swarm Collective, you have clearance for Phase 2, Chen ordered. Ambassador Ren's bioships moved forward, their organic hulls adapting to match the electromagnetic signatures of authorized Drachnid vessels. They slipped through gaps in the defense grid, releasing microscopic spores that began interfacing with the automated defense systems. Their biosecurity is robust, Ren reported, their voice tinged with amusement. But it's designed to fight hostile bacteria and viruses. They never considered organic technology could evolve to interface directly with their systems. Chen watched as section after section of the Drachnid defense grid began experiencing mysterious malfunctions. The Empire's technicians would be scrambling to fix problems they couldn't even properly detect. Silicon Consciousness, begin Phase 3. Nexus's quantum-entangled AI networks activated, launching an assault that existed in both real and virtual space. The Drachnid cyber defenses, designed to fight traditional AI, found themselves facing consciousness that operated on principles they had never imagined. Their systems are paradoxically both too advanced and too primitive, Nexus reported. They developed their technology in a straight line, never exploring alternative computing paradigms. They cannot comprehend, let alone defend against, our methods of information processing. The defense grid was now in chaos, its commanders unable to understand why their superior technology was failing. But Chen knew the real test was still to come. All human vessels, prepare for Phase 4, she ordered. Elder Vix, is your fleet in position? The crystalline ships had phased into a dimension slightly out of sync with normal spacetime, a trick that combined their natural properties with human gravity manipulation technology. Ready, Admiral, Vix confirmed. Though I still find it elegant how your people weaponized our natural phase-shifting abilities in ways we never imagined. That's the beauty of cooperation, Chen replied. We all see possibilities in each other that we might miss in ourselves. Execute Phase 4. The Endurance's gravity lances fired, not at the Drachnid defenses, but at precisely calculated points in empty space. The crystalline fleet used the gravitational distortions to amplify their phase shifting, creating a cascade of spatial anomalies that rippled through the defense grid. Energy shields flickered as space itself warped around them. Plasma weapons malfunctioned as their containment fields encountered physics operating on multiple dimensional phases. The mighty defenses of the Drachnid throne world, optimized against known threats, found themselves facing principles their scientists had deemed theoretical at best. Multiple signals from the surface, Rivera reported. There, he paused, surprised. They're asking for parley. The Drachnid High Command wants to discuss terms. Chen allowed herself a small smile. They'd finally realized they're not facing barbarians with crude weapons. They're facing civilizations that understood fundamental principles so well that we transformed them into art. The tactical display showed Drachnid ships powering down across the system, their crews finally understanding that they faced something beyond their experience. Not more advanced technology by their standards, but entirely different approaches to science and warfare. Send word to all ships, Chen ordered. Hold position but maintain combat readiness, and transmit our response to the Drachnid High Command. We will meet to discuss not just terms of peace, but terms of coexistence. The galaxy is entering a new age, one where no species has the right to claim their path of development, is the only valid one. As the Alliance fleet held their position around the Drachnid throne world, Shen reflected on how far they'd come. Humanity had emerged from hiding not to conquer or destroy, but to prove that strength comes in many forms. The supposedly primitive species had united to teach a powerful empire that true advancement means exploring all paths, not just the most obvious ones. The Drachnids were about to learn that the future belonged not to those who climbed highest on a single path, but to those who dared to forge new ones. And perhaps in defeat, they would finally understand that the species they had dismissed as primitive had actually mastered the most advanced technology of all, the ability to see beyond their own limitations. The Grand Chamber of the Drachnid High Council had never hosted such a diverse gathering. Admiral Chen stood before the assembled representatives of both the Empire and the Alliance. The chamber's ancient halls now witnessed to a transformation none had thought possible. The Drachnid Empress herself, her iridescent scales reflecting the chamber's light, addressed the gathering. For 10,000 years, we believed advancement followed a single path. We saw our role as guides, ensuring all species evolved toward what we considered enlightenment. She paused, her ancient eyes scanning the assembled beings. We were wrong. Chen watched as the truth of those words rippled through the chamber. Drachnid nobles shifted uncomfortably while Alliance members, crystal, metal, organic, and energy beings, stood proud in their diversity. Your empire's greatest error, Chen responded, wasn't in achieving technological advancement. It was in assuming your path was the only valid one. The Empress nodded slowly. We saw your gravity manipulation as crude physics, your biological adaptations as dangerous mutations, your artificial intelligences as limited constructs. Yet each of you mastered fundamental principles we never fully explored. Cax of the Mechanical Kingdom stepped forward, their liquid metal form flowing with purpose. Because you sought to climb higher on your chosen path, while we sought to explore all paths. Your technology became a tower, impressive but rigid. Ours became a network, adaptive and resilient. Holograms appeared throughout the chamber, showing the countless ways the Alliance species had developed. Human ships riding gravitational waves alongside crystalline vessels phasing through dimensions. Swarm collective bioships merging seamlessly with silicon consciousness virtual constructs. Each civilization contributing unique perspectives to shared challenges. This is why we're not here to conquer, Chen declared. We're here to invite the Drachnid Empire to join a new kind of galactic community, one where advancement means exploring all possibilities, not just following established patterns. The Empress's scales shifted in a pattern that indicated deep thought. And what of the species we suppressed? The civilizations we judged as primitive and attacked. They will be freed to develop along their own paths. Elder Vix's crystalline form pulsed with conviction, and they will have mentors who understand that innovation comes in many forms. Ambassador Wren's bioship form rippled. Already, we see new combinations emerging. Human gravity technology merged with crystalline phase shifting. Mechanical metamorphosis enhanced by biological adaptation principles. Each collaboration creates possibilities none of us imagined alone. Nexus manifested as a shifting pattern of light. The Silicon consciousness has calculated millions of potential development paths. The possibilities for advancement when multiple technological approaches are combined are infinite. The Empress rose, her massive form commanding attention. Then let this day mark not just peace between our civilizations, but the beginning of a new understanding. The Drachnid Empire will abandon its doctrine of enforced technological conformity. Chen stepped forward to meet her, and the Alliance of Free Development will help your people explore the paths you missed while climbing your tower of progress. Together, we'll show the galaxy that true advancement comes from diversity of thought, not uniformity of development. The chamber erupted in agreement. Throughout the galaxy, the news would spread. The age of single-path development was over. Species once deemed primitive were now recognized as pioneers who had dared to explore roads less traveled. Later, on the Endurance's observation deck, Chen watched the combined fleet of Alliance and Drachnid ships preparing to depart. Each vessel represented a different approach to the same challenges: faster than light travel, weapons, defenses. Each proved there were countless ways to reach the stars. The Drachnids are already adapting, Rivera reported, joining her at the viewport. Their scientists are like children discovering whole new fields of study. They're particularly fascinated by how we combine gravity manipulation with classical physics, because they finally understand that advancement isn't about climbing higher, Chen replied. It's about climbing everywhere. Each principle mastered, each path explored, adds to the whole. Through the viewport, a Drachnid cruiser attempted its first gravity-assisted phase shift, guided by human and crystalline instructors. The maneuver was clumsy but successful, a symbol of how even ancient civilizations could learn new ways of thinking. We've received requests from 17 previously hidden civilizations, Rivera continued. Species that developed in secret, each with their own unique approaches to technology. They want to join the Alliance. Chen smiled. Tell them all are welcome. The future belongs to those who understand that there are as many paths to the stars as there are species to imagine them. The Endurance prepared to depart, its mission transformed from war to exploration and diplomacy. Humanity had emerged from hiding not just to defend itself, but to forge a new kind of galactic civilization, one where being called primitive simply meant you'd found a new path that others had been too proud to explore. The age of enforced conformity was over. The age of infinite diversity had begun. And somewhere out in the galaxy, new species were looking up at the stars, dreaming of their own unique ways to reach them, knowing they would find not judgment, but celebration of their innovations. The galaxy had learned that true power comes not from following the established path, but from having the courage to forge new ones. And in that lesson lay the seeds of advancement beyond anything even the Drachnids had imagined possible.